I knew there must have been a reason that they were backing this flop for so long to the tune of so many tens of millions of dollars. Yes, Netflix, proud distributor of With Love Meghan.
Welcome back to our channel, where we bring you the latest and most compelling stories from around the world. Today, we're diving into the controversies surrounding Meghan Markle and Prince Harry.
Is only staying sweet with the Sussexes because they want the divorce deal, which bosses believe will be a ratings winner. Wow. How sinister is that? But it does make sense, given that Meghan has already shopped a post-divorce book to publishers. That news confirmed by Vanity Fair. Marina Hyde, the hard left Guardian columnist, not usually one to slag off Meghan Markle, made this revelation. Watch. Brittany, editor of the Royal News Network, joins me now. Brittany, this is astonishing if it is the real reason that Netflix is hanging on. But I guess it's like the publishers. They're only interested in Meghan's book once she's able to tell all on Harry.
Exactly, Dan, because when you think about it, Netflix made the most when Harry and Meghan, quote unquote, broke up with the royal family. So it makes sense that they can make equally as much money if Harry and Meghan themselves break up. And you got to wonder what Netflix knows behind the scenes, because they are obviously watching and they know more of the internal dynamics between the couple than perhaps we, the public, do. So they may be seeing all this going, yeah, they're not going to make it. And at some point, we need to be here to capitalize on it. Or Meghan herself has been slowly hinting around at various things. Because again, when you look at her Instagram account, Meghan, and as ever, and then on the show, she's going Meghan, Duchess of Sussex, instead of Meghan, the Duchess of Sussex. She actually included the, which is actually part of the title on the American Riviera Orchard thing, but she's taken that away. So you just gotta wonder, is she already writing herself off as a divorced woman even before the file has already been made, and just preparing for that? And Netflix is there, biding their time, going, okay, once the iron is hot, once actually things get juicy and interesting, then we'll strike, because Harry and Meghan, just content creation is not their thing.
From a Netflix deal under threat to legal challenges stemming from past admissions, the Sussexes are under the spotlight once again. Let's unravel the details. See, Meghan Markle's recent Netflix series With Love Meghan has faced significant criticism, leading to concerns about the future of the couple's $100 million deal with the streaming giant.
Brittany, what is absolutely fascinating, and by the way, great analysis there, but what is fascinating to me is that that's why she went with the big Meghan Sussex launch, which she knew was going to be the viral moment because she was snapping at Mindy Kaling, but she left it in because, again, that is setting her up for a post-divorce life. In her world, she never wants to be called Meghan Markle again. The post-divorce book will be authored by Meghan Sussex. And the way she'll get around that, Brittany, which is obviously very transparent, the way she'll get around it is by saying, oh, but I want to keep the name because I want to keep the connection to my children.
Yes, very true. And if you look at the whole thing, she's just trying to figure out how to sort of keep that title and keep whatever she can about the royal lifestyle, even though she sort of despises it. At the same time, I don't think she has a lot of respect for Harry and their relationship. And it just seems like she's always been angling for that divorce, despite their epic proclamations of this being the most amazing love story you've heard endlessly. It just seems like really things are beginning to splinter behind the scenes, and she's looking for whatever route she can. And I think if she had sort of addressed the Meghan Sussex thing slowly, then maybe people would have been more interested in grasping onto that. But I think she sort of dropped it like a bomb, and everybody's going, well, you're still Meghan Markle to everybody else. And she'll, I think, still be Meghan Markle for as long as possible. She may get some people to still call her Meghan Sussex, but at least to me and you and probably everybody else, she will mostly be Meghan Markle. So I don't think she'll ever get away from that.
No, because she's not Meghan Sussex as far as I'm concerned. I mean, I really do feel that. Now, what was interesting is that as this Rest of Entertainment podcast discussion continued, Richard Osman, another big lefty, actually advocated for Meghan to return to acting. He thinks she should team up with Ryan Murphy for a Netflix drama. No, exactly. The third act is going to be the post-divorce act. We know that. It's a matter of when, not if. But what do you make of Richard Osman suggesting that actually she just needs to go back to acting? It's something I've been thinking for a long time.
I mean, it's not a bad suggestion. I mean, she obviously was an actress. I think though the problem, I think Meghan even herself acknowledges to her benefit, I guess you could say, is that she was not a good actress. Like part of the reason she was fishing for a wealthy guy is that she was sort of aging out of that sex pot role and she doesn't really have enough acting chops to get another job. And so she's sort of just going around and trying to figure out something else. But I mean, when it comes to acting, she could probably get a couple of acting gigs. But I think that was something she should have done when they came back to California instead of waiting so long. Because I think at this point, she's damaged her reputation so much. Her Instagram following is so tiny when you think about it. And according to what I've been hearing a bit, is that sometimes they hire actors based simply on their Instagram following. Like that's who gets priority. And there's a lot of actresses who have a lot higher Instagram followings than she does. So at this point, I just don't know how many people would be that interested. Could she have a strong career as a Hallmark actress? Yes, I do think she could. But if she's angling for at some point an Academy Award,
Oh yeah,
I
that's
think
what she
that's
wants.
a dream that's out of reach.
The show, which premiered in March 2025, received mixed reviews, and insiders suggest that Netflix is reconsidering the value of their partnership with the Sussexes. The deal, set to expire this year, was initially based on a 5-year plan to produce various content.
Exactly. She's never going to get a blockbuster. Absolutely not. Because the Hollywood studios would know that she would be toxic to box office. But I think she could get a Netflix series where she headlined in the same way as, say, Michelle Keegan, because there is that natural curiosity when you don't actually have to shell out for a ticket. And we saw that with the Suits revival, the Suits renaissance on Netflix, which actually began because people were curious to see, oh, can Meghan Markle really act? Now, all you need to do is watch With Love Meghan to know, yeah, she can sort of act, but not very well. Not very well. Now, the Netflix thing is interesting, though, Brittany, because more and more we are seeing stars of Netflix turn on With Love Meghan, which is a huge concern for the company. The latest is the comedian Christina Pazsitzky. She has had big Netflix specials in her own right, yet she's speaking out, proudly speaking out against Meghan Markle and With Love Meghan. She is now the third Netflix star to do so, following on from Catherine Ryan and Whitney Cummings. Yeah, I think that's a really good point. But before we actually get to her critique, Brittany, how significant that it's almost like open season from Netflix stars on Meghan Markle. There's no sense that she is protected by the company because it's just so bad.
It's so bad. And you're looking at people and they see her and they see the inauthenticity and they're thinking about their own deals with Netflix or their struggle in the entertainment industry. And they're like, how in the world did this woman and her husband get $100 million deal? And she can't even seem to cook right on a cooking show. I mean, so many questions there. I think people just watch Meghan's show and they just feel the fakeness of it. And they see people like Martha Stewart who have done it much better for decades longer. Or even somebody like just Jennifer Garner, and she does little cooking things in her kitchen, and they seem so natural and normal. And then you have Meghan like in this perfect kitchen and the perfect life and everything, trying to emulate that. And you just don't even believe that Meghan Markle is really even passionate about anything that she's doing. Like from that show, the one thing you can tell that she loves doing, that she has a really big passion for, is her fancy cursive. That's like the sole thing. She does a little flower arranging. She can cook and host, but it's a cursive.
Yeah, and that
her
is
thing.
her thing. And it's always been her thing. And exactly, that's where you see, I guess, some degree of passion rather than, holy shoot, I have to pretend that I actually do all of this stuff myself. Whereas we know at the palace, it was all being done by servants. And
Mhm.
we know at the Montecito mansion, it's all been done by staff. That's very, very clear. The thing about Martha Stewart is she came up in a very natural way. Now, it wasn't just Christina Pazensky, by the way. Whitney Cummings, who had already gone off on Meghan last week, has actually gone even further, Brittany. Now, I just want to play you her full outraged video and get your response because I think we should see it first before we discuss.
Mhm.
However, with the latest series not meeting expectations, the renewal of this lucrative contract remains uncertain. Prince Harry's past admissions of drug use, detailed in his memoir Spare, have led to legal challenges concerning his US visa status.
Oh, that's so good.
Obviously, yeah, very good. And she's
So
been
good.
quite facetious in a lot of those parts. But
Mhm.
isn't it interesting, Brittany, the fact that even now there are moments from With Love Meghan which are really showing up how Meghan actually feels. And it's true. When you look at it, she's mortified that her friend is daring to speak when she had something to say.
Well, I think it's funny because when the show first aired, people were so focused on like sort of the Mindy Kaling thing, and then you had the pretzel thing. And so it was really the first two episodes people were really dissecting, and then most people didn't watch the rest. So this is, I think, episode 3 or 4. And what I find really interesting too is that Whitney really picked up on the idea is that Meghan is just trying out different personalities and trying to find something that fits and that people like. And it's like, that's so true. And we're all like watching it going, we don't see the real you ever. And she's just trying out different things endlessly, hoping something sticks. And it's like, no wonder you're failing because we don't get a sense of who you are. And it's clear when you're with your quote unquote friends is that you can't really stand them taking any attention away from you. And this is Delphine is also the woman she sort of gave the backhanded compliment to, I thought. She said, she's as beautiful on the inside as she is on the outside. And I was like, okay, I could read that two different ways here, Megan. Which one do you mean? I didn't think it was particularly complimentary. And this is really the wife of Harry's friend. So how close are they? Probably not really that close. They didn't seem to know each other super well. So Megan is just wanting the attention, trying to find different personalities and hoping something resonates with the public. But every time she tries out a new one, people like her less and less.
Now, we've also heard from Justine Bateman. Remember, Justine Bateman was the actress,
Mhm.
Brittany, who really went viral for criticizing Harry and Meghan's disaster tourism over the LA wildfires. And she has now written a Substack which she calls the Victim Olympics 2020 to 2024. And look, there on the medal, Brittany, is the little
Oh, that's good.
Sussex graphic. And here's what she has to say. She says, the problem with Meghan Markle is not what she's doing, it's the Victim Olympics road she took to get there. God bless Meghan Markle. Truly, I don't think anyone really wishes her ill. There's nothing wrong with having a cooking show, starting a podcast or two, or changing your name after you marry. The problem with Meghan Markle and her husband Harry is that every opportunity they have explored or exploited over the past few years has been due to their very aggressive Victim Olympics campaign. And the difference between doing that 2 years ago and doing it now is immense. It's 2025 and no one wants to see victims anymore. No one wants to watch someone play act at something they didn't earn. No one wants to go along with another's narrative anymore. And I think she is so right, Brittany. I mean, not that, by the way, I ever signed up to the Victim Olympics back during the Oprah interview or anything, but it really does feel like the whole world, even the entertainment industry, is just in a different place.
The Heritage Foundation, a conservative think tank, filed a lawsuit seeking the release of his immigration records, alleging that he may have misrepresented his drug use on his visa application.
It's so is, Dan. Just in those couple of years since they left the royal family, like the victim narrative really grabbed hold during the Oprah interview, and then they got a little bit of that during their Netflix series as well. But I feel like really because so many people claim that victimhood status, we're sort of seeing what it really is, and that sometimes it's just sort of a grift. And that's definitely the whole Harry and Meghan have fallen into, and that they're just constantly complaining about everything going on in their lives, or complaining about the internet and how bad it is. And yet Meghan wants to be on Instagram and everything like that. It's just, people are just so incredibly sick of it. And I feel like it was really because Justine really started catching steam as soon as Donald Trump was elected. And I feel like people feel like the veil has been lifted a bit, and this sort of, tramping down of any sort of free speech or anything saying, well, woke is bad, is just sort of being alleviated. And Harry and Meghan definitely fall into that category of people who, yes, their whole spiel worked in 2021, 2022, but it's 2025, and we're not interested in that victim narrative anymore. And that has run out of steam. So they really need to actually prove themselves based on their own talents, rather than just complaining that their time in the royal family, where they lived in palaces and had servants and staff and security and all these things, that somehow that was bad. Nobody's really buying that anymore with, kind of inflation and everything. People have had a tough time, and Harry and Meghan complaining from their $15 million mansion is not working anymore.
No, it's not. Also not working, by the way, Brittany, is the sort of with love as ever promo that we've seen over the weekend. Let me take you through some of it. Princess Carmichael actually pointed out she could not cope with this because she was quoting Audrey Hepburn while clearly posing for a garden pic. And she said, I can see the scene now, frozen in place with her hands in the bushes, trying to look ethereal, wholesome, and like she cares about the bush. Harry, or some poor assistant forced to keep snapping away with the fake poses. Meghan Markle, we see you, girl. Then Nancy Sidley also took another shot, and this one is actually where she's sort of digging Brittany. And she says, I'm always laughing hysterically like a crazy person looking in the opposite direction whenever I till the soil too. And there's another moment that Nancy has picked up on too, saying Meghan is definitely a fan of the Kardashians, and contrasting the confessions of a female founder, which we revealed last week she'd actually ripped off, with this promo picture of the Kardashians. Brittany, I know you're not a fan, are you, of this marketing push? You don't think it's very of the moment?
No, it's very behind the times. And actually, when you look at the picture where she's quoting Audrey Hepburn from Instagram, that's actually a shot taken that was, she was wearing the same outfit in a picture in People magazine that was taken in June of 2024. So technically, this is a promo for American Riviera Orchard that she's now using for As Ever. And so the branding here is so totally mixed because she's working on it, lemon tree. Lemons are in orchards. And so it's just doesn't make any sense at all. And it's so incredibly posed. And the other picture where she's looking at and grinning at nothing, it's like there must have been her dog or one of her kids there. And at some point she decided, oh, no, scrub them out because I don't want anybody to see anybody else but me looking at a blur and making, I mean, that's terrible Photoshop, by the way. Like somebody could totally do that better. But this whole Meghan Markle PR push is a mess. And I would argue she's getting to be overexposed at this point. There's way too many think pieces. I think she should have actually waited for her podcast at least a couple more weeks, because at this point, there's just been way too much Meghan. She's too overexposed and she hasn't proven herself at all. We see everything and people just are getting more and more irritated every time she announces a new project. And you definitely don't want that. And unfortunately for her, she doesn't have the talent of Taylor Swift. So there's not really a way for her to sort of, kind of reinvent herself again. So this whole thing, though, is an absolute mess from a branding, marketing, PR, everything perspective. This has been an epic disaster. I don't know who she talked to on her podcast, but clearly she did not listen to any advice.
In March 2025, a US court ordered the release of heavily redacted documents, leaving key questions unanswered. The controversy has sparked debates about potential legal repercussions and whether the Duke of Sussex received preferential treatment. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned for more updates on this story and other news that matters to you. Until next time, take care.